the camera helps you get access to things. And the bigger the camera, the more access you get.
That is absolutely correct.
For over 40 years, Alan Youngblood has captured the defining moments that shape our community. He's an award-winning photojournalist, and his work has appeared in countless publications and projects, including the Ocala Star-Banner and the Ocala Gazette.
You don't understand. If I take your picture and we get it in the paper, people will come help you.
From war-torn Europe to the silent depths of Silver Springs, his images reveal what words alone never could, and what the heart can never forget.
The camera has been my shield.
Yes.
The camera has been the only reason.
And he lives with his wife, Chris, and I hear you have two Brittany's, Piper and Tess.
Yep.
And Tango the stunt pony.
Yeah, Tango the stunt pony.
We replaced Blaze the weather horse.
No, she did not replace her.
Oh, she didn't replace her. She joined her on staff?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, Tango the stunt pony predates Blaze the weather horse.
I did not know this.
Yes.
So wait, what is a weather horse?
You missed Blaze the weather horse?
Yes.
Okay. So here's a good story.
Dipping into the glory days here.
Yeah. So back when all the publishers sat in the room and decided that video was going to save journalism,
Mm-hmm.
the corporate head of video came and stood at my desk at the Star Banner and goes, "We have to have more video, and we have to have it right now. And we need you to shoot 15 videos a week." And I said, "Do you want stories or what do you want?" She goes, "I don't care. Anything that you want to shoot is fine with us." And I went, "Wow, okay." So that was like 5 videos a piece on top of everything else we had to do. And I said, "Okay, well, Marion County loves weather,
Yeah.
and they love horses, and it's very easy to go on my phone and see what the weather is, and I can see weather graphics for the day, and I can grab those." And so what I did was I went out with my cell phone into the pasture every morning with my Peruvian filly name. Her name is no Blaza, but I thought for entertainment, Blaze the weather horse would be a better name. So Blaze and I did the weather every day.
And you were a part of this.
No, I was a big fan of Blaze.
You were a big fan of Blaze. Okay.
Blaze's fan club, yeah.
And so I would go out there on the pasture and I would set the.
They got up way too early for me. Yeah.
But it was great because it only took a couple minutes to do. It only took about 10, 15 minutes total from shooting to editing on the iPhone to posting. I don't even remember what that crazy service was that we posted it to, but we also posted some to YouTube.
Yeah.
Then they're still up there. You can go watch them.
I'm going to,
Yeah,
for
Blaze
sure.
the weather horse. And so it was really popular. I actually had a mother call me at the paper and goes, my daughter just moved to California and she's working for the government out there, but she misses Ocala greatly, and she tunes into Blaze the weather horse every single day to see what the weather in Marion County is. And I said, "That's awesome. I love to hear that." And she's coming home and she would like to meet Blaze. Guess would Blaze be up to meeting my daughter? And I said, "Sure, she could be on the show." and so I told her to come out. So she came out with her parents, and she fed Blaze, and she was a very nice young lady, and so Blaze had a fan.
That is awesome.
Blaze was awesome, man. Blaze was a thing for a while in the newsroom, boy. That was good.
I said, "Well, people are going to think that's kind of stupid, but."
Obviously not. Obviously not. Caught on.
I thought we did a good thing because the weather was accurate.
Yeah.
And we updated people on hurricanes and all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you're joking about this, but it really was well done. I mean, Alan really, of course, knows how to frame things, and the farms were beautiful in the morning. Sometimes the mist was coming in, and Blaze would always come out. I mean, Blaze knew when it was weather time.
Yeah.
Blaze would always come up to you, and Alan had really good information. It was just fun to watch, and it was just
creative way to share.
Wait, we have to back up because you have to hear about Tango the stunt pony.
Oh yes, we do. Okay, let's go back to Tango the stunt pony.
How did Tango get the title stunt pony? Okay, So we covered a story about an animal hoarding case. This woman had 76 miniatures and ponies on 1 acre of land.
Here in Marion County?
Yeah, here in Marion County. Oh, that happens all the time. Marion County loves horses a lot, and there's a lot of really good-hearted people who get into the horse rescue business. Only they don't understand what it takes to do horse rescue, and they wind up being hoarders. And so this was one of those cases. I went out there, covered that, and we had room. So I said, I will take one of these ponies, and this was a rescue pony.
So you went out for a story and you came home with a pony?
With a pony, yeah, absolutely. That that kind of stuff happens all the time. But dogs and all kind of stuff. Okay. Anyway, so she was up in the front pasture, and the neighbor across the street had another pony. And I don't know if you know anything about ponies, but they're very ornery. Mm-hmm. And so they were talking back and forth. And so Tango decided she was going to jump the fence in her pasture and go get that pony. So we have standard horse, 4-foot high horse fence. Now this Tango's not very tall.
Yeah.
And so she took a running leap from the entire length of the pasture, went to jump over the metal gate. She did not make it. She crashed into the top of it, flipped over on her head and back, and we thought she was dead.
Oh no.
Yeah. No, she popped up and she was fine, and she's been fine ever since. So we named her Tango the Stunt Pony.
I love that.
Anyway, that's where.
Has she ever been able to clear it?
No. And she's never tried it. She's never tried it again.
Yeah, what's the definition of stupidity? Keep trying it.
Yeah. No. We don't know what got into her, but it. Anyway.
She's got high hopes, man.
High hopes. Anyway, so I'm sorry, back to the...
so we want to hear a little bit about the rumor that we've heard that you got married underwater.
Yes, in 1991, we did get married underwater, and if Dan's watching, Dan, I'm sorry, I don't remember your last name, but he was the PR director at Silver Springs. I dealt with him all the time because we'd go out there for stories and that sort of thing, and we'd been diving out there for a number of things. And I said, Dan, can we get married in the bottom of Silver Springs? And he just looked at me kind of funny, and he just kind of he didn't say no, but he said I'll ask about it. So finally, he called me about a week later. He goes, yeah, you can do it, but we can't tear up the springs and all this sort of stuff. I said, okay, no problem. So that, I guess, production would be a best way to say it was quite involved, a lot more involved than I expected it to be. To keep off the bottom, we couldn't touch the bottom of the spring and disturb it. So we got a piece of expanded metal and put it on 4 cinder blocks down there for us to stand on. None of the divers could be on the bottom, anything like that, which was good because we didn't want to stir up the springs. But as I was telling you earlier, the reason we decided to do it in the springs was, Chris and I, we aren't particularly religious. So we didn't have a church home. We didn't have a church venue or anything like that. And there were no cool venues like the Vintage Farm down there to have it. Being a diver for so long, I thought it was always cool. But our problem becomes is that we understand that weddings are not just for you.
No, they're not.
They're for your family. Your family wants to come and be involved, and your friends want to be involved. And with really none of our other friends as divers, we could have one underwater in the Keys or somewhere else, but no one could come.
Yeah.
I figured the springs was the perfect answer to that. And my dive instructor trained his preacher to run the service.
So when you say train, I mean, did he dive at all?
No, the preacher was not a diver
so
at all.
Literally threw him into the pool and said,
here we're going to train. Yeah,
certified
him so that he could do the thing. Apparently, not a lot of people know the Kleins, Jordan and Geordie Klein. Jordan Klein, who just passed away unfortunately a little while ago, he essentially invented underwater cinematography. He was a Navy SEAL, I think, or Navy underwater demolition guy. Retired. He lived in Miami, and he saw the need there were several productions going on down there. Like he shot Thunderball, James Bond, the James Bond film. He shot Splash. He shot the whole Flipper series. He shot so much stuff. And Jordy, his son, I'd run into a number of times, and I just call him and ask him if he could help us run the audio for the preacher, so there'd be a little audio. He also put out a static camera for us, so that people could see it on the screens around the thing. And he was so kind that he ran all the audio. He brought out all the audio gear, ran a static camera for us, and he really helped us. And I don't even think he remembers that.
I'm sure he does,
because he's so prolific in what he does, film production and TV. He does commercials. He's an amazing guy, because he comes from the era where you just can't go off the shelf and buy stuff to do stuff.
You have to make it.
Yeah, like he did drones before DJI. He was flying drones on cinema cameras before DJI ever came to this country. Amazing man. Anyway, Jordy,
he's on the Jordy Sr. is on the Marion County Walk of Fame in front of the Marion Theater.
Yeah. So Jordy, I don't know if you watch this or not, but thank you again. The glass bottom boat solved the family thing, right? One family on one glass bottom boat, the other family on their other glass bottom boat, and it was great. And I trained a longtime friend and staff photographer, Doug Engel. He had been certified a long time ago, but he hadn't been an active diver for a long time. So I threw him in the water. We went out and trained. I went out and trained him up, got him back comfortable. I gave him my Nikonis. I said, "Here, you're going to shoot this. Just put on F8 and point the camera." and he did a fabulous job.
That's amazing. What about the wedding dress? We need to know. Chris wore a regular wedding dress, and as soon as we got out of the water, Chris and I ran. They had a locker room. I don't know if it's still even there or not in the building. They had a locker room, and she had 4 people getting her in the dress, fixing her hair, doing her makeup, and then we came out on golf cart to the reception, which was held at the petting zoo. This is the best wedding story ever.
So you had giraffes at your wedding.
Yeah, exactly.
That's nice.
And how many people attended your wedding?
Well, invited, there was 15, maybe 20, 30, maybe 40 of our friends and family were there, but 20,000 visitors watched it.
It's like a royal wedding.
Yeah.
Here in Marion County.
This is true. Yeah, you probably got more ratings than some of the royal weddings.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I've known him for probably 35 years, and I don't know if I've heard the whole story. That's wild.
Yeah.
How did you get into doing underwater photography?
Here's the funny story about that. I had always been interested in the water from a little kid. You could not get me out of the pool, and I lived in Fort Myers, but there's really no good places to dive in Fort Myers because you got the Gulf and it's not real clear and that sort of thing. And I never did get to learn it. So after college, my first real job was in Florence, Alabama, of all places. There was one dive shop in town, believe it or not. Now you got to understand Florence, Alabama. It's on the Tennessee River. That if you have visibility like this, it's a good day, right?
Yep.
And the rock quarries are a little better, but not much. So one of the features writer, one of her high school friends ran the dive shop, and she comes back in the darkroom and goes, "Hey, I'm gonna do a learning how to dive story. Who wants to come with me?" And so I figured I was the newest guy on staff. I go, "There's no way I'm going to get to do that because these 2 other guys are going to jump on that thing."
Yeah.
I mean, what a story. Neither of them wanted to do it. And I said, "Sign me up,"
Yeah.
And so the funny thing, while it was something that I'd always wanted to do, this was the first opportunity was for the job. The dive instructor was really helpful. And he was somewhat of a photographer himself. And he helped me learn how to shoot underwater, because shooting underwater is completely different from, it's not completely different, but there's a lot more to it. And so he helped me with that. He helped me with the camera. I borrowed lenses from Nikon and because we were using the Nikonus camera, which is a film camera at the time, clearly, because it was 1986. And he let me slide on a lot of the class stuff, a lot of the class exercise stuff.
Yep.
Because back then learning how to dive is really easy. Mm-hmm. You watch a course online, you go in the pool a couple times, and you go and you do a couple of open water dives, and you're certified. So that's super easy. For us, he taught out of a different course than Patty. It was Patty recognized, but it was a lot harder. Things like throwing all your stuff in the deep end of the pool, and you go in with nothing on, and you have to go get all your stuff on. Things like the 10-pound diving brick from the deep end, forward rolls off the 3-meter board, stuff like that. So I did kind of all that stuff, but he let me slide. But he let me photograph it as we went. Then the open water checkout was actually in Kings Bay and Crystal River. And so we loaded up on his old school bus and drove down here and did checkout dives in Crystal River. So, and I got to photograph manatees for the first time.
Wow.
And Kings Bay was nothing like it is today. You could see the manatees in there, and they had a little cavern you could go in, and and I was just hooked.
And still are.
Still are. Actually, we're going tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
Good for you.
And then coming down, then I wound up coming down here from Florence, and just so Silver, every excuse to get in Silver Springs was, I took it. Every film that Mark Emery was sick of me. I'd find out he's doing a film. I'd come out there and photograph him shooting it. And just all kind of stuff.
Well, Alan's photos, I don't know, I would highly recommend your most of your photos are on your website.
There's a few on my website. There's a few on my website. It hasn't been updated in a while, but
yeah, they're just breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking. And Alan also is on the dive team. Is it called the dive team?
The Silver Spring Professional Dive Team.
There you go.
Yeah, my dive buddy Joe Wallace came up with that. But when Leon Cheatham, who also just passed away, was he held every position at Silver Springs, up to and including running the park. He knew where all the bodies were buried. He knew how to he knew how to do everything. And one of the things that he did was keep up the glass bottom boats and the statues, the I Spy statues. Mm-hmm. And because Silver Springs, I don't have any data to back this up, but my feeling is that Silver Springs was its own worst enemy environmentally. When you have a top-notch tourist attraction, everything's got to look good. The flowers have to look good. The grass has to look green all the time. And you do that with a ton of fertilizer.
And chemicals.
And so that seeped into the spring and caused a lot of the brown algae and a lot of the things. I mean, who's the guy that, I'm bad with names. He was the PR guy out there for the longest time.
Steve?
No, the photographer.
I don't remember.
Yeah, we went to his studio over there.
Oh, Moser.
Yeah, Bruce Moser.
Oh, Moser. Yeah, Bruce Moser.
Yeah, Bruce Moser was the longtime PR photographer. He used to tell us stories. Another interesting guy also passed away. He used to tell us stories about having to go when he would do he's a guy that did models like mowing the grass and shooting arrows and all that.
You'll see those kitschy photos still around.
Really kitschy.
Yeah.
But he used to tell us what he would have to do before he could shoot. Was you have to go down there with a fire hose and hose off the algae from the
statues? Or?
From the eelgrass and stuff, because it was completely covered with, and that's all from fertilizer. The development in the recharge area of Silver Springs, which is north of Silver Springs, it's all was and still is all septic tanks.
And this is all like 60s and 70s, right?
Yeah. Was all septic tanks. So you get a lot of nitrates coming in anyway. but all that runoff from Silver Springs. So anyway, Palace Entertainment was the last commercial?
That was the last one before I think the state took over,
Yeah.
I believe.
So Palace Entertainment, the place just went completely to hell. Silver Springs went just completely to hell. Because they fired everybody. They even fired Leon, of all people. You know, the guy that knows and can do everything. Let's fire him. When the state took it over, Leon was the last person that they had that could dive, that was qualified to dive. And he's the one that cleaned all the glass bottom boats and the statues, among the thousands of other things that he did. So when the state took it over, Leon wasn't there. They had nobody that could dive and clean the glass bottom boats. Nobody. While they quit fertilizing Silver Springs, they're bringing it back to natural Florida. They don't have all that. They don't have all the plants that need all the fertilizer. It's still, the glass on the glass bottom boats still algae up, and they're very hard to see through. You'd be surprised in a month how the algae grows. What Joe did was he proposed that we have an all volunteer team to volunteer their time to come in and scrub the bottom of the glass bottom boats. And we also care for the other artifacts. There's a canoe that we kind of keep the algae off of. And we also discovered that the Spanish rowboat that they talked about in that little cove over there.
Yep, I know exactly where it is. Yes.
Is not a Spanish rowboat, it's an original glass bottom boat.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because after we pulled the weeds from it, there's glass in the bottom of it.
No kidding.
Yeah, back in early Silver Springs days, the tourists they would come. They had big rowboats. They'd put 4 or 5 people in, and a guy would actually row them around the spring, and they could look through the glass. But that's one of those.
No kidding.
And
I know exactly where that is. I could take
You'd have to
take
fend
you right
off
to
the
it.
alligators by like poking them in the eye right next to you. Yeah.
yeah, we discovered other like steam boats that are lost in the spring run and stuff like that. But on the tour, if you take the longer tour and you go down to Garfish Hole and you see the wreck down there, they call it the Jerry Lewis wreck. No, it's not the Jerry Lewis wreck. It's the Burt Reynolds wreck, because it was Leon told us this. He sunk that. He dragged that boat upriver and sunk it on purpose for I think it's called Whiskey Renegade. Yeah. It's a Burt Reynolds movie with Burt Reynolds and.
Was Burt wearing a mustache for that movie or not?
Yeah.
Okay, because that distinguishes good movie from bad movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that is still down there, and it's a wreck, and it is deteriorating like you would not believe. And we try to not, we don't go scrub those. We just kind of fan the and pull the weeds off of them so that people can see them. The history there is amazing, and getting to dive in that every month is really, I haven't missed a month, I don't think. I had surgery one day. I didn't get to dive one month, so I rode on a glass bottom boat.
You're so lame.
Yeah.
Slacker.
But
and again, the pictures that he has from those are pretty amazing as well.
Yeah, it was interesting to see. I did a project at the Star Banner, a day in the life of Marion County. Was it 2000 we did that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So. Where we patterned it after the Day in the Life projects, the series of books, and of course I picked Silver Springs, and we went to that wreck, and I have pictures of that wreck from 2000 and the picture of it from today, and it doesn't look anything like that.
Awesome. So check it out.
Yeah.
So I am going to tell you guys about my experience of how I came to the Ocala Star Banner.
Oh boy,
Okay.
all right.
Getting hired there.
Getting comfortable
so,
here.
I'd always wanted to work in journalism. It'd always been my dream. My school counselor told me, don't. The industry's dying. It's a dead-end road. Don't do it. Go into something like
you proved
teaching.
him wrong.
And so I went into teaching. I was like, okay, I guess if that's what you tell me. So I moved here, and my son was in school, and I was like, it's the perfect opportunity to just go for something. Mm-hmm. And so I set up a meeting with Jim Ross. You know, I was so intimidated, imposter syndrome times 1,000. I've done a lot of writing.
I have that every day.
Blogs, you know, yes, I think we all do. You know, I've written for blogs and magazine articles and things like that, but I was never formally trained to write for a newspaper, which is a very different process. So I walk into the building and there was a reception desk on the first floor.
Yep.
And they greeted me and they said, you know, Jim Ross will be down to get you shortly. And I'm sitting there and in my head, I was like, this is happening. I'm going to see a newsroom. This is 2014.
This is
And so in my head, I was like, there's going to be guys up there in fedoras. There's going to be typewriters, people smoking cigarettes, the phone's ringing
Flask in the
nonstop.
desk,
Yes. And I was like, I'm going to see the news happening in real time. Mm-hmm. He comes down, you know, Susie, come on up. We walk up. It's the biggest room I've ever seen in my life. And there was like a desk here and a desk here. It was like Susan Smiley Heights' desk and yours. And nobody was there. There was like 4 people there. And I was like, so this is what a newsroom looks like. And it blew my mind, you know, reality versus expectation.
You were about 15 years too late for that scenario.
And so, but that was my question. I was like, did it ever look the way I envisioned it?
Yes.
It did.
I never worked. By the time I got in the business was working full-time, 1983 was my first real newspaper job. And yes, I mean, until 2008, it looked like that.
Yeah.
So cool.
We had 70 people in the newsroom.
Yeah, there was.
I mean, they could fit 70 people up there for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We had 70 people in the newsroom. And then one afternoon, we went from 70 people in the newsroom to 20 people in the newsroom.
What's interesting is, and I've talked about this a lot, is that not only do we have 70 people in the newsroom, but you think about those days. I mean, we had a society reporter. We had a guy that we'd throw a bow tie on and shove him out to Royal Dames balls. I mean, and you know, we had a business editor. We had a business magazine. I mean, you know, just things that just seem
unreal we had M Magazine. We had
When the society reporter went away, we were like, oh no, what are we going to do? This is terrible, you know. And then little did we know that, you know, they would be going and going and going. But ran about town and we had all kinds of. We had 2 dining critics at one time.
Rick and who else?
Rick and what was her name? I can't remember her name, but that they alternated.
Was it Rima?
No, it wasn't Rima. Actually, she was a freelancer. It's going to drive me crazy who her name was. But yeah, she was good. And so we had 2 dining critics at the time.
So it was a very different experience.
Yes, and you know the newsroom that you saw in the movies, all that. You know, I mean that was probably. You know, 70s, early 80s, I'd say. You know, the flask in the desk, cigarettes.
Yeah, I was like, when did smoking stop in the newsroom?
They didn't have smoking when I.
Okay, so it was never here in the 80s. Okay.
No, but I mean, there was plenty outside. You know, you go out and cloud of
smoke everywhere.
To walk outside to your car was pretty heavy. But yeah, I mean, I remember the days. You know, I started at the Citrus County Chronicle, and you know, it was pretty, you know, hard news, yelly, you know, just that intense, you know, get the story, where's my story, you know, clackety, clackety, clack. So those are the days.
So I just missed those. I just missed the mark. I was a little too late to the party.
I think you're about 10, 15 years too late for that, but.
Kind of piggybacking off of this, you know, I met a lot of people at the Star Banner and other writers and editors, and I watched them deal with the fallout of their life, work, and mission just all of a sudden disappearing overnight, and job security and everything that goes along with that. And a lot of people bounce back because they're all such resourceful, incredible individuals that work there. I'm assuming that you all saw under a microscope that was dialed in like 1 million times more clearly what that looked like in regards to the amount of coverage and the quality of coverage of our local community.
That's a good question. I mean, I'll speak to you. You mentioned it seemed like it changed overnight. To me, it didn't seem overnight. I mean, there was the writing on the wall. Alan mentioned 2008.
it was my entire career in the business.
Yeah.
Where
Scaling, yeah.
where you could feel it. It was always, and it wasn't just at the Star Banner. It was at my newsroom before that. It was like, we really like your work, but we're only giving you 3% raise.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Times, we were a New York Times paper, and the Times was doing its best to make everybody know that this is coming. Who Moved My Cheese? That was popular.
Oh, wow. I remember the cheese.
Yeah, the cheese
meeting.
book. Yeah, the cheese book. Who Moved My Cheese? It's a book.
Okay.
About changing,
corporate disruption.
Okay.
about corporate disruption and change.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I always tell people, I missed Vietnam by about 5 years. I never spent time on patrol in the jungle, but I liken the whole career to that, because you never knew who was going to get the bullet. You never knew if your key card was going to work that day. You never knew where you, what was going to happen next. And not journalistically, corporately.
Yeah.
I haven't been to a counselor about it, but I'm sure Dave and I both have PTSD from it.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Dave was, I wrote it out. Dave saw the writing on the wall and left.
Yeah. Yeah. But it took me a while to find something that I was secure in. But yeah, I was very lucky, because 3 weeks later I would have been, I started with Duke Energy.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 weeks later is when they got you and Susan and everybody else. That would have been my level as well. I would have been gone in the same round with you, I think.
Yeah.
And but you had mentioned how it affects the news coverage. Oh, it's huge. It is huge. I mean, there's not a lot of accountability. There's not a lot of government meetings being covered. There's not a lot of, I'll get story ideas that I see, and still, we're still news people, and I just want to say for the record, it's just, these are really good people.
Yes.
I mean,
incredible
these are
individuals.
good people, and the folks that are still there, the few remaining, I mean, they're just, they've got our thoughts and prayers with them. I mean, we're down there rooting for them. And then again, we'd mentioned the Ocala Gazette, and I think they're really, really looking for the accountability. But yeah, you saw it in the pages. I mean, there just was a diminishment of local news each year, each month. And
oh my God, when the TV book went away.
Oh wow, that was like the worst time of my life, is when we took the TV guide away from the newspaper.
Yeah, we did a TV book every week.
I remember that as a kid.
Yeah.
It was always, that's how I knew what what was on.
And it got smaller and smaller, and finally had to go away. And people just freaked out about it.
They lost their ever loving minds.
Yeah, they did.
And but at first we were like, oh my gosh, it was we were kind of overwhelmed by the response. But then but what it told us, though, was how much people relied on that information.
Yeah.
I would get calls, and we there for a while, we did nothing but field TV book
Angry phone calls.
And, you get these calls from very sweet old ladies who would say, look, I'm homebound. This is my only, I need to know when Phil Donahue's on. I need to, and you kind of snicker at that, but then no, that's
how they accessed information.
I mean, that's a very real thing.
Yeah.
And TV cache. Yeah, I forgot about the TV book. Yeah, that's the PTSD that I've put away in my little box.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alan. I'll not sleep again. But so yeah, and every now and then, as I say, I still have that news side of me where I'll come across stories. Like I'll see stuff, and I'll call, my former editor, and I'll just say, hey man, are you guys on this? And it's like, we got nobody to cover this. We just can't do it. And
so stories are going by the wayside. There's a lot of things.
Oh my God. The amount of stories that just don't get covered. Mm-hmm. You need a staff at the level that we were to cover it. Mm-hmm. And if you even if you cut all of the, I guess what people would consider fluff. It's important to something like features.
Yeah.
Like if you cut all of features and just do news and sports, you need that level of
Depth.
of people, because you can't get it off Facebook, you can't get it off Twitter, you can't get it off, in a reliable,
consistent way that's in your face,
consistent, true manner, and it's you just can't.
It's sad. It's tough.
I'm sure it's got to be tough because it was such a huge part of your lives for so long. Not that you're not still contributing to other outlets.
I freelance with everybody, but it's still not. It's not kind of the depth of story that you need to tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you made a good point too about the folks who were forced out of newsrooms and so forth. And, I always joked if I ever left a newsroom, I'd live under a bridge. I knew nothing else. But what always surprised me, and we see it with the amount of people who have been, let go from newspapers and newsrooms, that the skill sets that they developed really plug in well to different things.
They do.
The constant curiosity, the writing ability, just the awareness of your community. Pretty much everybody landed on their feet. And it's Kelly Turner always talks about this. When he left the news biz, this is a friend of ours that used to work in the newspaper many years ago, and he got out and this is years ago, and started these corporate jobs and banking and that sort of thing. But he always said, my background in newspapers made me a better employee, a better worker, a better, it upped his value. Yeah. Because, you've got your hands in a lot of different things. You're figuring out government, you're figuring out, the way the community works, you're figuring out, you're reporting on all kinds of different things that give you kind of a really good background and a good perspective on a lot of stuff. So I learned new tricks. I didn't think I could learn new tricks, and I learned new tricks.
Well, I'm proud of you.
I don't know about that, but
so kind of as a follow-up, because I think this kind of naturally jives. As a journalist or photojournalist, particularly probably a photojournalist, we're exposed and given access to worlds that a lot of people aren't given access to. Could be celebrities, entertainers, galas and events that the general public may not even know exist. Mm-hmm. We may even be at an auction where a little wooden duck can sell for $250,000, which is a concept that goes over my head. I don't get it. I don't live in that world. Mm-hmm. But we see that. We see that extreme. And then we also are faced with writing stories on the harsher realities of life and the people who are hanging on by a thread, families who are losing individuals to overdoses, suicides, homelessness, living with the, real true struggle. Has that affected you or your perspective of humanity and life in general? Or has it changed you at all?
Well, I don't let Alan speak to this, but newspaper folks, and I think, reporters and editors in general are a different type of breed.
Yeah.
We come in, we're kind of cynical, but at the same time, and I always describe the Star Banner newsroom as, we ran on chaos, coffee, and big hearts. Yeah. Because, the thing about the Star Banner newsroom, Alan, you were there, what'd you say? You came in what, the late 80s? 88. I came in 91. And so many people, that staff, was full of longtime community members. And, but yeah, you develop hard shells for the bad stuff. Mm-hmm. You have to. But at the same time, we had the honor of seeing a lot of things that few other people saw.
Well, and one thing I was really proud of was we did community with a heart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know if that's still going on, but
not led by the papers anymore, but
yeah. But we started that program. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, I'm not.
Community with a Heart was, we gathered up a lot of the
social service agencies.
social service agencies like
Interfaith.
and those
or
kind of
Brother's
people.
Keeper.
And we initially did it from sources from people that we met, and we would go and we would take cases to them as a group, and people would sign up to see what they could do. You know, people that handicapped people that needed new wheelchair ramps, people with cars, people with their roofs falling in, stuff like that, and we do that around the holidays. And we go photograph them, and that would make the community aware of them and help and, send money or send services or say, hey, I can fix that guy's porch and, whatever. So that was really proud of that.
Yeah.
And we used to do a thing called Silver Garland
Oh, yeah, I remember.
for high school students. And it was a big interview process day, and we would bring them in. They would all dress up, and they would come, and we would have and we would interview them and ask them about things, and I think got them scholarships and things like that. So that was always popular too. But no, you're right. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff, a lot of unhappy stuff, and the camera has been my shield.
Yes.
The camera has been the only reason that I've not gone insane.
That's absolutely,
I mean, Haiti, oh my God.
Yeah, can you tell us more about your experience? I know that you've seen war torn.
Yeah, I've been to, went to Bosnia, went to Bosnia was not as bad as Haiti. Haiti, we went during the oil embargo. There's actually I don't know if he still does it here. There's a Harvest International is based here, and they used to have a family that lived in Haiti and helped out things. They mostly did medical missions. And what they would do is they would get a team of college medical students, and I think he took a PA from here and went out in the backwoods of Haiti, not like Port-au-Prince, not like you see on TV.
Yeah.
This is like a day or two in a Pajaro, and then you go on then you have to go on the boat like you see, like the sailboats that you see bringing Haitians to America. To an island, to Ilibosh, and then you get to hike, and you get to ride horses for 5 miles. The stuff that we saw has been wiped out in the U.S. 100 years ago. Diseases and infections and starvation, and went to see a witch doctor. That was fun, and that sort of thing. And it was just eye-opening. I never, after I took that, I think, God, when did I do that? 94, 95. After that trip, I never complained about anything ever again.
Yeah. Wow. I remember that trip for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something. And again, I mean, that was something that the newspaper did and should have done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's how you cover a community, right?
But yeah, I mean, it was in the middle of the Orange Box, so they had an exemption for charitable or for humanitarian work, which is the only way we were able to get fuel for the Pajaros, and they had nothing. I mean, it's like you remember when the earthquake happened a couple years ago and everything fell down, and they said there was an earthquake there. I go, how could you tell?
Yeah,
that's how it always looked,
right?
But it hasn't just been that. I haven't had to go far away to see this stuff. See it on the west side of Ocala.
Yeah,
we did a story about septic systems that were not up to code and that sort of thing. This is in a trailer park west side of town. This picture still sticks in my brain. It's a lady and her 3-year-old holding her 3-year-old in diapers on the porch of their mobile home, just crushing.
Yeah, and that's that's the value that we're missing right now.
Yeah, because these things are happening in our own backyard. You don't have to travel to Haiti. There's stories here.
To be told.
Yeah, and there's people that need help.
Yeah, people that need help. There's stories that need to, and that's how you help them in a lot of sense. You turn that spotlight, that storytelling, those visual elements.
Because Marion County as a whole is a very giving and very empathetic county. I mean, there are so many people that are willing to help out. I mean, it just amazed me that once we ran a story in the paper about something
and brought awareness to it.
Brought awareness to it, and these people would get helped.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, we saw it over and over and over again.
And when people go, no, don't take my picture, I don't want to see them. No, I said, no, you don't understand. If I take your picture and we get it in the paper, people will come help you.
Is this awareness happening now that we don't have, without having the staff that we used to have at the Ocala Star Banner,
right,
and the ability to cover as much?
I think the heart's still there. I mean, as I say, a lot of the folks who, a good chunk of the folks who were at the Star Banner now work at the Gazette.
Yes.
And so,
hi, Susan.
Yeah, hi, Susan. And Susan Smiley Height was a pillar of local news. I mean, that was her thing. And so she's bringing that, to the Gazette. So I think the answer to your question, I'll let Alan, answer as well. But I think the heart's still there. I think the desire to cover that is still there. And
the resources
just aren't there. We do have the local magazines, and we do have TV 20 and that, and we still have news coming out. But again, it's the storytelling. It's it's those type of stories are the ones that are not being told right now.
I think that I'll tell you off here.
Okay, that's totally fine. But I also believe there's so much power. Yes, you can write a story, you can write a feature, you can give voice to a person, but the visual storytelling, that component, the photography, the videography, that it really breathes life into a story and makes you feel more connected. Is that happening? Are we? I don't know.
I try whenever I can get an assignment for something like that. I think you're right. I think it all goes back to resources. Yeah. I can't work for free.
No, nobody can.
And so the desire is there, but it's hard to spend the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's I mean, we talk about resources. It's the money fuels the resources for sure, and it's an interesting market right now. And you had mentioned it was interesting, and I can go back to this if I can. We talked about the hard stuff that we see and the access and a couple things. I mean, Alan talked about storytelling. I mean, I started taking photos and a lot of it was because of Alan and Doug Engel and that. I mean, I just really admired what they did. I enjoyed taking photos. Alan helped me through photo school immensely. But the greatest piece of advice I ever got was from Alan when, I was showing him my photos from photo school, and he's like, you need to open your lens. You need to, tell that story. You need to shoot wide. And, so I've always had that in my mind in terms of storytelling photos. But, in terms of access, and it goes both ways. You'd mentioned the celebrities too. I remember back in the days of Silver Springs when they had those concerts, people talk about concert photography, music photography. The key to that is access.
Yeah.
It's not, it's access. And Silver Springs gave us really good access. And I always tell the story about how, they'd let us on stage and we'd shoot, and it was good, good photos. But remember when REO Speedwagon was here?
Yeah.
And I got it, I was shooting REO Speedwagon. And again, it was access, the access I wouldn't have had other than the media. And I had a big 200 lens on the side of the stage, and I was shooting kind of from behind, waiting for the lead singer, Kevin Cronin. And, just crowd in the background. And I was looking, and all of a sudden there's like this, it's like an eclipse. There's like this big guy that just stands right in front of the camera. And I'm like, excuse me. And he's like, you're not shooting this. I'm like, well, no, I'm here. Silver Springs has let me in. I've got this press badge. And he's like, nope, out of here. What it was they didn't want that close up of Kevin Cronin.
Oh,
Because he's up there in years, and so he still wanted to be a rock star, and he's still that. But
if you'd had a smaller lens, you might have been able to stay.
Yeah, they like, if you're going to shoot with that lens, get way back, and so that was it. I got back at that point. I'd had all the pictures I needed, so I just went straight to the newsroom to process. But yeah, access makes all the difference in the world, and that was nice, and it went both ways for the writing side too. I mean, those compelling stories are told because you were that close, you were that ingrained. I mean, you have that access, and that's how it should be. So.
I mean, I guess you could say I started off as a concert photographer. I went to a small junior college in Georgia when I got out of high school. Was there 2 years, and I went to Florida. And the first thing I did when I went to Florida was I don't know how I wound up there, but I went to Student Government Productions, and that was in 1980, and that was an unusual year for Student Government Productions because they had all of the great concerts. The Dead was there, Allman Brothers was there twice, B.B. King,
wow,
Linda Ronstadt, a bunch of other people, and I got to shoot all that. Wendy O. Williams for the Halloween Ball.
Oh my gosh,
she was incredible, and but that was all access.
Yeah,
the camera helps you get access to things.
This is true.
And the bigger the camera, the more access you get.
That is absolutely correct.
big camera energy.
Yeah,
you walk in with a big camera, and even if you don't have the right credentials, you act like you know what you're doing with a big
Yeah.
Few people will question you.
Yeah, it's really the only way you're going to get good storytelling. You need the access to show people stuff they couldn't see.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for the access all through the years that I've had to Silver Springs. Oh my God, I'm super grateful for that. Silver Springs is closed to swimming, diving, anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to swim there, but they've been fighting that tooth and nail.
The tooth being the alligator teeth, because that's...
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to share my wildest story from the Ocala Star-Banner.
Wow.
And it's an assignment. I don't know if it was you or Susan who put me on this one. Mm-hmm. I was sent to Williston to do a feature on this man.
Okay.
So I had never even been to Williston, and it's out there. It is out there, and his home was way out there. And I am greeted by this really, really tall man and a wooden carriage, two-seater carriage, and a horse-drawn wooden carriage. And he was like, well, before we go in the interview, we're going to go for a ride. I have anxiety, and I'm afraid it had nothing to do with horses.
Okay, yeah, all right. So nothing to do with a carriage ride.
Nope. And so I was like, this is what we're doing. So I get in this little I'm sitting next to this guy in this little carriage, and I'm like, this better be a good interview afterwards. But he looks at me and he says, you have no idea how fast this baby goes. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So he takes it like, ka-cha, and we take off on this little trail, like the wheels are like going up, and I was like, this is how I die. This is how I die. And I'm like, I can't believe that this is happening right now. Like, this is real life. But that was just the wildest, most unexpected thing that had happened.
Deadline, Susie.
I did meet the deadline on that one.
That's all that matters.
But was there ever, I don't know, one of the most memorable moments that you've had in your experience with journalism or photojournalism that you can close with or share?
Well, in terms of danger, I think Alan's probably been in a lot more dangerous situations than I have. He mentioned the coverage overseas and that, and certainly the things that he covered, and a lot of crime we've all reported on. Trying to think danger-wise.
It doesn't have to be danger. It could just be memorable. Well, it could be funny. It could be.
The thing with the news business is you're doing something different every day, and the beauty.
That's the thing I liked about. That's the thing I like about it the most.
The beauty of the news business too is you're just doing something different every day. But the nature of news is something new, something unusual that you're into. It's just the opportunity. I got to drive a blimp
Wait,
one
what?
time. I got to drive a blimp for when Tyler Ward was, they had a blimp coming out. I forget what it was. It was a Virgin Airlines thing, and they were doing a promotion, and they called and said, "You guys want to ride in a blimp?" And I said, "Sure." So I brought my then fiance, now wife, there, and we got up there, and he's like, "You want to drive?" So I drove. So I mean, that was fun. And then when the Travoltas came to town, they've been very gracious. They were very gracious with the media. So we got to work with them quite a bit, and I ate cookies with John Travolta one time. So that was, who does that?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a million other stories, but I mean, Alan really was more in the center of the hurricane than I was on a lot of occasions. And hurricanes, we all covered hurricanes.
Yeah. But were there any memorable moments that stand out in your career?
Yeah. This is a fun one from Bosnia. We were on the ZOS, the zone of separation, with all the stuff blown up, and they still went out. There hadn't been hostility for a while, but they still went out in 4 Humvee armed Humvee convoys whenever they went there. I said, I need to get pictures of the Humvees driving through the thing, and they said okay. So they said, what we'll do. I was riding the first one. I said, we'll drop you off here, and then the last one you can ride back in the last one, so you're not away from us too much. I was just walking along. I looked around. There were no Humvees.
Oh, no.
I was walking around in the zone of separation by myself, and then they heard. Then they finally came back, and they were telling me on the radio. They said, "Have you got a photographer?" No. They go, where is he? And we go, we don't know. And so they turned around and came and got me, and came and picked me up. But it was okay. I ran into a couple of ladies that were going for water and stuff. I had a nice talk with them, sorta, because I didn't speak their language.
Yeah.
But, I took their picture and things, and that was fun.
Yeah, you never know what you're gonna get. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so my other story, one of my favorite things probably was the time that I got to fly in a B-50
B-52 bomber.
No, not a B-52. Yeah. We did fly in a C-17 to Europe, but no, the B-17, the bombers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they used to, before they crashed it, they used to bring the B-17 here
every year,
and they would park it at the airport. I've always been an aviation buff. And as a kid, I was a World War II buff, World War II aviation buff. So to see this bomber in real life was absolutely amazing. And they let us go with them when they moved from here to Leesburg, I guess. We got to fly in it from here to there, and we got to walk all around the bomber and got to look through the Norden bomb site, and it was just an amazing experience to get to fly in that historical thing, But yeah, anytime we fly is fun. I mean, I've flown in everything from a C-17 Super Fortress down to an ultralight. Super fun.
You guys have done a lot of flying in your careers, blimps to
more so than me, yeah. But there were so many cool. I mean, you asked that question. I'm going through, and there's stuff every day we did.
Yeah.
Back in the glory days, it's particularly, but I think one of my first assignments out of J school when I worked at small paper was they were having a lot of crime in a certain area, and so the police let me do a ride along, and and I'm just this little guy here, and they placed me in the seat, and they said, all right, if things get tough, there's a gun in the back, and they're showing me where the gun in the back is. I'm like, you're telling the young journalist it's a gun in the back. Thankfully, I didn't have to use it, but they're telling me, okay, if things get rough, they might, grab what's in the back and just start
shooting. I guess. That's crazy. Well, wrapping up.
Really well.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
All right.
Cool.
Yay. That was fun.
All right.
Oh.
Thank you, guys.